but we are a pleasure to have our esteemed brother BABATV Every Time Fire here with us today with Sankofa, our host.
They cannot feel your pain. They see you on a mission. They think it's just a game.
Well, they're trying to control me, but I'm staying in my lane. Well, my passion is my energy. No one turn out my flame.
Peace, love, and light. We're once again back on the ground in Boston with BABATV, which you know is fire every time. And we have a very special treat for the family today. We are in a very profound and historical institution right here in Boston. And we have a brother, an esteemed brother, an elder in the community, spiritual leader and teacher by the name of Brother Ptah. Brother Ptah, introduce yourself for the people.
Dua'u Siba.
Respect.
Dua'u Ramet Imhotep. Greetings and divine greatness, divine excellence to the families, to the first families, the Nagas, the Shemsarus, the Nesubitis, the Hemets, the Sibas, the Sibats, the Mutnatats, the immortal ones of my cherished, of the new age order, the great golden age of my Happy Ausar, and all citizens of the Nile Valley cultural, cosmic, collective consciousness, spirituality. Welcome to the Museum of the National Center of Afro-American Artists, 300 Walnut Ave, Roxbury, to the Royal Burial Chamber of Nesubiti Espalta. Anuk Ptah Sikasar, we're here with BABATV Every Time Fire, and our host Sankofa, and we're going to go into the music, and we're going to present to you today ancient primordial Nagaship, ancient primordial temple discipline Nagaship methodology. So we're going to go inside to the tomb room, and we're going to give you your first day and let you embrace immortality with your ancestors. So we're going to take a break here right now, and we're going to see you soon. Atumra Hotel. Dua'u. We're back here at the Museum of the National Center of Afro-American Artists, 300 Walnut Ave, Roxbury, Boston, Mass. 02119 at the Royal Burial Chamber of Nesubiti Espalta. We're about to go in and enter into the path of immortality, but first we wanted to go through primordial temple discipline methodology and to create the proper vibrations and frequencies. So first we want to introduce you to the livid so that everybody understands how to have their first day. So you must have your first day in order to make it to the path of immortality, which will be instructed on the walls inside the Royal Burial Chamber of Nesubiti Espalta. So to achieve the proper frequencies and vibrations, you must understand the 5 golden rules of the livid, which you might recognize as a diet. We do not have a diet, we have a livid. We want to live forever. So the first 5 golden rules is rule number 1, eat only of the seed. If it doesn't have a seed, don't put it in your mouth. Only thing you put in your mouth that doesn't have a seed is water. The food you eat should be as the air you breathe. In with the good, out with the bad. Rule number 2, never eat and drink at the same time. Do not mix your solids with your liquids, or you create an acidy brew within your stomach, in which you create the bloating effect. Primordial temple discipline dictates that you must wait for a novus 45 minutes for the solids to digest. You'll feel it go boom. Then you could drink. And then the solids go to the large intestines, the liquids go to the small intestines. Now it comes out just urine or your stool. Now, rule number 3. Eat as the table earth prepares the food, from the ground, from the vine, or from the tree. Rule number 4. Never eat to your fill. Don't glut yourself. Don't overeat. Don't eat everything in the room. Save something for somebody else. Don't overeat because it's unma'atian of you. Rule number 5, fast occasionally for certain periods of the year, we must fast to purify, detox, and cleanse the body from all the impurities that you've been putting yourself through with this injured humanity and this Hellenistic paradigm doctrines of injured humanity, as we have eating of this food that's not of our nature. Okay? I want to give a royal salute to Supernova Sloan, and Queen Afua with the health and wellness that they have. And in Boston, Massachusetts, we have the Queen Akasikasat, Seshat Heru Ma'at at the Ra Healing, who does all the healing. So we want to let you know you have to be on the proper vibrations and frequencies before you can enter into the halls of double right and double truth, inside the holies of holies, because this is the best kept secret in Boston, Mass. This is the only reconstructed Egyptian tomb room in the United States of America. There's not one at the Metropolitan New York, the Smithsonian. There's not one nowhere in America. There's one right here in Roxbury, Boston, Mass, the Museum of the National Center of African American Artists, 300 Walnut Ave. And this is immortality. So what we're going to do to enter into the halls of double right and double truth, we must also understand this is the gate. This is the gateway. Now, in primordial temple discipline, whether you're Kemetic 18th dynasty, whether you're from the 12th dynasty theorists or practitioners, or if you're from primordial Kemet, it doesn't matter. You must understand how to enter into the halls of double right and double truth. So there's one text that has called the Book of Gates, or the Book of Gates, or Amduat. And in the Amduat, you would have to know the keeper. So when you put the key in, you have to pronounce your Usa Medu Nefer Heka'u. Usa Medu Nefer. Usa means power. Usa Medu means words. Nefer means divine. Divine words of power. And then you say Heka'u or Heka. Heka means magic. Heka is the translation of Usa Medu Nefer. You're just saying it. So you're saying it as you can say things alphabetically or phonetically. Alphabetically or phonetically. But in each instance that you perform your Medu Neta task, you must relate it to the concept of self-creation. Without this concept of self-creation, you're just another Greek and another Roman. Okay? You're just another Hotep hustler. Okay? Inside here, we're going to show you primordial temple discipline. We're going to bring you to the spirit. We're going to bring you into the primal ocean of nothingness. We're going to bring you, I can bring you to the water, but I can't make you drink it. You have to drink the water yourself. We're going to go beyond the doors of European understanding. So if I when I went to open the gate to enter in, I would have to pronounce the name of the gatekeeper. So the gatekeeper would say, I am the house of Ma'at. I am the door of Ma'at. And I must say, yes, you are the door of Ma'at. You may enter. But then I have to know the hinges on the door. And I pronounce my name as Usa Medu Nefer. He says, I am the giver of winds. Then I say to the door handle. And they would say, I am the ox of Seb. The next would say, I am the arm of Shu. So you have to know these names in Medu Neta in order to pronounce the Usa Medu Nefer to enter in. So now, these are Shenus, or Shereks, or as you might know as a cartouche. You know, the British call it a cartouche because it looked like a bullet. A bullet had a cartridge. But these are Shenus. And these are what the Nesubitis and the Hemets would write their royal names in. So it's here you would see it alphabetically. This is the A, the fig leaf. There's the Z or the S. There's the P, which is the door, which is the P. This is not a mat. This is not a stool. I know a lot of people learning Medu Neta go with Gardner's sign list and Ptolemy and with Bulge and Champollion. And it's good to know these things because it's part of your training. But this is not scholarship. This is the Nagaship, okay? You have scholarship, but we're bringing you to the Nagaship. We're bringing you to your cultural, cosmic, collective consciousness, spirituality. Okay, so now here's his name. A-S-P-L, the lion, and there's the land, Ptah, Espalta. And when he took the throne, this is his throne name. This is his birth name. But when he was coronated and took the throne, he became Mer-Ka-Ra. Some people might call it Ra Merka, Ka Mera. But you read it, the Shetnus, from the center down to up, okay? Because the light has to be last, okay? So this is what we do. So now we're going to enter into the halls of double right and double truth, where the soul is purged of all sins. So I don't have the instrument with me, so I have to use what I have it on me. And we pronounce some sounds. We give it 3 taps, and now we're going to walk into the halls of double right, double truth. Welcome everybody into the tomb room of Aspalta. Dua'u, panata apupamaat, onk was tejet, onk uja sedeb, uben nafike panebu heru ma'ati. Welcome everybody to the Museum of the National Center of Afro-American Artists, 300 Walnut Ave. We're at the interview of the tomb room of Nesubiti Aspalta with BABATV, Every Time Fire, and our host Sankofa. And what we're going to do, we're going to enter in, and I'm going to show you the rites of passage. In order to perform these rites of passage, I must pronounce the Usumedu Nefe Heka'u, the Saku, the Hesi, and I must address the ancestors and the ancient ones and our elders for permission to speak. I would first ask for the elders, the ancestors, for permission to speak. I ask for Dr. John Henry Clark, Joseph Benjo Cannon, and all the elders, the Queen Mother Goddess, Francis Cress Welsing. And I would ask all the elders that are present today, I would ask for Samaj Ptah for permission to speak. I would ask Mefundishi for permission to speak. I would ask the great Queen Mother Goddess Riketi Amen for permission to speak. I will ask for Baba Kaba Kamini for permission to speak. I would ask for Natiri Nelson, the great Mutnatat here in Boston, Mass, for permission to speak. I will ask for Brother Professor Reggie Mabry, my good brother, for permission to speak. I would ask for Jabrari Ozazi for permission to speak. For the Center of Restoration of Ma'at, I will ask for all my ancestors for permission to speak so that we may enter into the halls of double right and double truth, for the soul is purged of all sins, and we will see the faces of all the Netanus and pronounce the Usa Medu Nefe Heka'u, Anuk Abet Kweb, Anuk Abet Kweb, Anuk Pertotep, Anuk Pertotep. I am pure, I am pure, I come in peace, I come in peace. I shall begin by saying, Dua'u, O Ast, Ermuk, Pat Nataru, Pat Nebu, the mother of the Netanus, the mistress of Pet, the maker of mankind, she who is mighty in words of power, mother of all initiations. Bless us humble servants for Ankh, life now present, for we seek the counsel of the ancient ones and practice daily the ancient Ma'atian ways and ancient Ma'atian truths. We strive evermore to become one with thee in this world and in the existence to come. We ask that you bless us on this, the 151st day of the year after the helical rising. 209 days remaining until Ubin Suptit Cyrus rising, wet red pet Dejid New Year's celebration. The 7th day of the 5th month of Heteru, the 1st day of Twamutep, the 1st day of the 2nd month of the 2nd season of Akhet, year number 8, AFNK/ST, after the founding of New Kemet, Naga Kemet, Samatawi, phenomenon of succession, New Age order, the great golden age of Mara Asar. We ask that you bless our families and friends and all those of us who gather together to worship in your most holy, sacred, and glorious ancient Tamarian name of Ast Ermuk Patnataru Panebu, for in the art of seeking you there is much comfort. Panata Pupamaat, Onkwas the Jet, Onku Jasanem, Uben, Nafike Panebu Heruma Ati. So is it spoken, so let it be written, so let it be done, so shall it be for now and forever forward. Rana Teshara. You may all enter into the halls of double right and double truth.
And just give a breakdown.
So as we're here, we enter in, and the first wall we see just deals with time. This is what has been stolen from us. This is what has happened to us as injured. We have been labeled injured humanity. We are mental, physical, spiritual, subjugated slaves. We have been Hellenized and lobotomized with that lunar cycle calendar, with that watch that you have on your arm. This is true time. This is what the ancestors left for us. This is over 5,000 years old. This edifice right here, Mortuary Temple, is over 5,000 years old using a Gregorian chronological timeline. We are going to go beyond the door of European understanding, but first I must introduce you what time is. So as you can see here, you can see the big sun on this side, and on this side you see the little sun. This represents the solstices. This represents the longest day and the shortest day, which would, in scholarship, we teach the Nagaship. But we're going to introduce, we are scholars, but we have scholars, we have scholarship, but we are not scholars. We are temple discipline. We have the Nagaship. I would not call myself a scholar. I would not insult my ancestors to even come out of my mouth to call myself a scholar, because that means that I'm a Greek and I'm a Roman. That means I got a wig on my head. That means I came, I saw, I conquered. Okay, so we're not scholars here. This is primordial temple discipline methodology. This is the Nagaship, so that you know. Now, the top piece is the Nesubiti Espalta in the Nagaship. This represents the solstice. So what you have to understand is, where they took time away from us was during, right after this era. So we're talking, this is exactly 700, 800 BCE on a Gregorian chronological timeline, okay? This is when Espalta, Pianki, Tahaka, Shabaka, and the Kush kings lost control in 754 BCE. They was pushed up into Nerdi, Kerma, Napata, and Metalway. It is at this time that the Greeks came in. The Greeks' name was Eratosthenes and Aristarchus. This is for some information for you scholars who want to test my knowledge. I'm going to give you some information that you could Google. So if you Google 754 BCE or AUC, which is Ab Urbe Gordita, upon the founding of the city of Rome, you will find the first calendar reform. And the first calendar reform was done by Aristarchus and Eratosthenes. Second calendar reform, 299 BCE, which is the Decree of Canopus 1, 2, and 3, which means Ptolemy the 1st, 3rd, and 5th. Then we go to the fourth calendar reform, 46 BCE, which is the Julian calendar. And then we go to 135 AD. This is all chronological timeline. It's the Gregorian calendar chronological timeline for you scholars to be able to Google this. You must do your own due diligence. I can bring you to the primeval ocean of nothingness, but I can't make you drink the water. Now we have the Council of Nicaea, 135 AD. That was the sixth calendar reform. Was Jesus the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost? Was he all three? Did the guy ever existed? We know he never even existed. We know that he's Ptolemy the First, Soter, Serapis, September, Mary, Amen. We know that was forced upon us because we know that in 125 BCE, Ptolemy the Eighth's name was Ptolemy Soter Christius. And they had the bishops of Christ in 125 BCE. That's 125 years before Jesus was supposed to even be on the scene. And there's the Christian, they have the bishops of Christ. So this was all set up for us to put us under mental, physical, spiritual subjugation for the longest of time. So, what we have to understand is, we know that, but within our methodology, within our cultural, cosmic, collective, consciousness, spirituality, and knowing how to tell time using the not-to-do logical style timeline, we know that, could you look inside my bag, in the black bag, there's a calendar. I don't have my calendar. We know that the next calendar reform is, in 135 BC, 125 AD is the Council of Nicaea. And they have a calendar reform after they want to know if Jesus, after Emperor Constantine brought all the bishops together and they had the council, they found out that he wasn't the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. He was Ptolemy the First, Soter, Serapis, September, Mary, Amen, posing as Serapis. So we know this. Everybody knows this. This is in the public domain. And we know that Ptolemy the First, Soter, Serapi, September, Beri, Amen, is the Soter. Soter in Latin. All we know is Latin and Greek. Latin and Greek came from the Coptics, it came from the Hierarch, then it came from the Medunetta, down all the way down to the Bantu, the Hutu, and the Twa. All we know right now is injured humanity, mental, physical, spiritual, subjugated slavery. We know how to be Hellenized and lobotomized, so we are speaking Latin and Greek right now. Okay, I'll get on the next cut. And so we want to just get you through these calendar reforms because we're trying to understand time here. Our ancestors has presented us with a grid, an immortal grid, to lead you to immortality, to the resurrection. This is a living replica, a microcosm, a reflection of the universe. So we must understand that in our ancient African ancestral, cultural, cosmic, collective consciousness, spirituality, the only way you can find immortality is through the transition, through the ancestors who have passed. Only through the dead can the living find immortality. And our ancestors put it on the wall for us to follow the path. Somehow or another, you adopted that Hellenistic diet, that Hellenistic religion, that Hellenistic form of life, and you became unfrequency. You lost all your frequencies, you lost all your vibrations, and now you're becoming content with this holiday that everybody's celebrating, this Christmas. Everybody got a Christmas tree. If you got a Christmas tree in your house right now, this is not your first day. If you have celebrating Santa, you are not a Naga. You are not a Shemsuru. You are not a Nesubiti. You are not a Siba. You're not a Sibat. You're not a Hemet. You are injured humanity. Google it, injured humanity. Everybody knows what injured humanity is but us. Everybody knows that we're taken to court. We was taken to court by Alexander and the Greeks and the Persians and the Babylonians. They were all the nations gathered together after the first calendar reform, and they took us to court and they placed us under mental, physical, spiritual, subjugated slavery by a decree in equity. And it's called execution of judgment and execution of sentence. Execution of judgment, they gathered and everybody was present but us. They took us to court and we wasn't even there. It's the first kangaroo court. And they took us to court and they pronounced that there would never be another global Naga rule on this planet. And then they had execution of sentence. They sentenced us to injured humanity, mental, physical, spiritual, subjugated slavery. Then this is where we've been for the last 2 great ages. The end of the age of Amen, which is Aries, and to the age of Pisces, which is Set. We have now left the great golden age of Set, or Pisces. We are now dawning on the great golden age of Ma'at HaPiasah, which is Aquarius. We're going to go into that in a minute. Just want to get this dissertation out the way so we get all the scholarship out the way. We're getting this scholarship out the way now because we're going to go Nagaship. But I just want to make sure the scholars have a chance to Google some of this information so that they can find clarity and validation in what I'm saying. So, this is time as it's presented by our Kush Nubian Nesubitis, and what we have to understand is this is the seasonal aspect of the calendar, which is a lunar cycle calendar. Now, the calendar that was given to us, the first calendar reform was the lunar cycle calendar. It was given to us by Eratosthenes and Aristarchus in 754 AUC. AUC means Ab Urbe Gotita, upon the founding of the city of Rome. AB, Ab, Urbe, Cordita, Gotita, Ab Urbe Gotita. Google it. As soon as you put in Ab Urbe, it's going to come up. They know what you're looking for. Predictive text. They know what you're looking for because all theologians, all ecclesiastic, anybody that's a scholar knows this information but black people. Everybody knows they stole this information from us. Everybody knows that we're under GMT and UTC. GMT is Greenwich Mean Time. UTC is Universal Time Coordinated, which means that when you woke up this morning, the first thing you did was you looked at that watch. How is it, ask yourself, that for 4,000 years, we've been waking up in a sleep, in a daze, we've been in a spell. How is it that they can maintain our mental, physical, spiritual subjugation and pass it down to their children? and their descendants how to continue maintaining their foot under our neck into subjugation, into mental, physical bondage. Yet we cannot pass down to our children and our descendants how to regain our divine birthright of immortality, or to bring about our liberation, which is immortality. And the reason is because of something so subtle that you wouldn't even believe it. When you woke up this morning, what did you do? Oh, I fed the kids, I did this, I cleaned up. No, that's not what you did. What you did was you looked at your watch, because you know you got to go to the plantation. You know where you're going. You know you got to go to work. You know you got an appointment. So they got you. They got you on the GMT and UTC, Greenwich Mean Time and Universal Time Coordinated. Once you look at that watch, you have been captured. The second capture is when you looked on your wall at that Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar is a lunar cycle calendar. Our calendar is solar, sidereal, and lunar. Okay? What they did was they took away the solar and the sidereal, which connected you to the phenomenon of precession of the stars. And they gave us a lunar cycle calendar, which all it is a civic seasonal calendar, which you could grow crops. If you got a lunar cycle calendar, you're just a farmer. You're growing crops, which we had this, which came from our calendar, but they severed us from the spirituality and left us with something just to feed us. Okay? So now, let's everybody follow me, family, but we're getting ready to break this down. So, time is the movement or measurement of the light through the void of deep, dark, cold space from one point or distance to another. Speed, 186,000 miles per second. Light is the absence of darkness, and darkness is the absence of light. Light is the giver of Ankh, life, to all things on the terrestrial plane within the atomic domain. Ankh, life, is the consciousness, awareness of being. Ankh, life, is the generic expression of the light that is only found in three forms: solids, liquids, and gases, matter, the elements, the netarus, the point netarus, nature. However, light, atomic energy, Kepra, the expanding universe, is not the Zeptepi. It is not the origins of existence and the creation and development of the universe. Light has a mirrored reflection, which is radiation, subatomic energy. This is now what we're going to go into in a minute. We're going to go into our ancient African indigenous cultural, cosmic, collective consciousness, spirituality. So, as we return back to time here, we have to understand there are three motions of time. The earth rotates on its axis, 24 hours and 35 minutes for one cycle under a calendar of 360 days, or 24 hours under a cycle of 365 days. Today we have 365 days in our calendar, so our earth takes 24 hours to make one rotation. But the original calendar of mankind was a solar sidereal lunar calendar. It was only 24 hours and 35 minutes, because there was 35 minutes that was split between the duat and the tuat, sunrise and sunset. So that means that there's 10 months in a year, 4 weeks in a month, 9 days in a week, and 8,766 hours in a sidereal year. Because before we go any further, let me just say that before the Romans and the Greeks, there were 9 days in every week, and time was kept by charting stars that were visible on our calendar. Aware of the movement of the earth, stars, and moon, these ancient African indigenous primordial Naga, Shemseru, Nesubiti, Hemets, Siba, Sibats, Mutatats, the immortal ones of Ma'at, ancestral peoples, were cosmically attuned. So, this is the first part of the entrance of the tomb room of the royal burial chamber in Nesubiti and Sparta. He teaches us how to tell time. And we're going to come back in a minute. We're going to break it down a little bit more, because eventually we're going to come to the next two sides of the walls, which define the halls of double right and double truth. These are the declarations of Ma'at, the 42 declarations of Ma'at and the morals of Ma'at, in order for us to enter into the halls of double right and double truth, where the soul is purged of all sins, and we will see the faces of all the Neterus, and we must pronounce the Usu Medu Nefer Hekau. I am pure, I am pure, I come in peace, I come in peace. Welcome everybody back to the Museum of the National Center of Afro-American Artists. The interview at the Royal Burial Chamber of Nesubiti Espalta. We're here with BABATV, Every Time Fire. We're here with Sankofa, our Boston's own renown, hosting the show. And we also have, on musical timbres and drums, we have Kavaya, Amen, Asiba, the great musician here in Boston, Massachusetts. We have Selassie, Ausar, Selassie Ausar, another great musician here in Boston, Massachusetts, who's performing the frequencies and the vibrations to elevate you to where you may acquire the ability to experience the phenomenon of being. We also have in the backdrop, we have Queen Mother Goddess, Seshat Ma'at Hereru, Queen Mother Goddess, and she is in charge of our production team of the Naga Ship Star Time, with our executive producer, Seshat Ma'at Hereru. So I want to make sure everybody's accounted for right here as we begin to go about our transitioning. Okay, so now we're going to break down. Don't mind me with this. I just coming down. I'm on my herbs and my teas. I'm on my ginseng. I'm on my royal jelly. I got the tamaranga. I got this thing filled and spiked up. I am on a frequency so high. I want to bring that frequency to you. In order to do that, I want to give you your first day, because you're in the holies of holies. You're in the holies of holies of Espalta. This is where the all of alls, where everything is, was, and shall be, is contained within the universe. And in order for you to receive this day of immortality, you have to have your first day to not eat of the seed, to eat only of the seed. Don't eat and drink at the same time. Eat as the table earth prepares the food. Never eat till your fill, and fast occasionally, the 5 golden rules we just spoke about. Then we come in and we learn how to tell time. You have to know time. A naga, a shemsuru, a nesubiti, a hemet, a siba, a sibat, an immortal one of ma'at must know where the star subject is at all time. If you follow me on Facebook, you would see, or follow me at the Shock Metaphysics Virtual Comedic Wisdom School, you would know that we teach seminars and webinars on how to tell time for our Naga Ramech, our Naga peoples. So, the first thing you must understand is exactly how we came into the Royal Burial Chamber. You have to know where the star is. You must know how long it's been since the star rose, and how long it's going to take for the star to rise again, so that you could be there to embrace that star on the helical rising. So now, most people understand the helical rising, but there are 2 helical rising in understanding time. So we just went through the 3 motions of time. The 3 motions of time is daily time, the rotation of the earth. Second rotation is the earth around the sun. 360 days under 24 hours and 35 minutes, or 365 days under 24-hour daily earth orbits. And then we have the third motion of time, is the sun moving through the phenomenon of precession through each and every sign of the zodiac. Okay? 3 dimensions of time. That's the 3 motions, 3 dimensions of time. Daily time. Daily time, yearly time, and great year time. There we go. I'm sorry, I had the cup in my hand. I had the calendar right here. This is the Ipeteru. The Ipet means Ipeteru Shabitem Tuahru Pamaat. Ipeteru, Ipet means to measure. Heru means day, the measurement of day. We call it calendar. This comes from Aketi Amen and Herikafa. Matter of fact, right now I'd like to give a shout out to the high priest of the White and Gold Lotus Temple, Heri Kafra, who is in the hospital right now. He has a stroke. So if everybody in the Kemetic community knows of Heri Kafra from the White and Gold Lotus Temple in Stone Mountain, Georgia, please call down there and find, I don't know what hospital he's in, but Hetty Copper has had a stroke and he's in the hospital. He is the high priest of the White and Gold Lotus Temple. I want to send our prayers, our Uncle Jah Sunebs, our Uncle Wastajet, our Ube Nefi Kepanebu Heruma to our special Siba elder, Hetty Copper. So, many are the mysteries concerning the universe and the Ankh life that is found within it. This is also true regarding the theories, laws that govern them. Who am I? Where do I come from? Why am I here? And where am I going? All the known and unknown forces of the universe are of one origin. Necessity becomes the order by which these forces reveal themselves. Existence demands that energy be spent. Existence is realized by the expansion of energy that must have a source. In the case of our universe, Ankh, life is always associated to heat and movement. But the energy that drives the entire universe is of the direct result of the self-creation of Ra Nebuchadnezzar, which produces the phenomenon of extraction and repulsion, along with the anomalies of heat and movement. Dua, Dua'u, Anuk, Ptah, Seker, Sa. I am Ptah, Seker, Sa. I am the royal scribe, master craftsman, and keeper of time of Tesha Per Ra, the Holy House of Ra, and the Shock Metaphysics Virtual Comedic Wisdom School. It is my pleasure, no, it is my honor to be the first person to introduce to you today in this new age order of the great golden age of Ma'at Hapi Ausar, the Ipeteru Shabitem Tuaru Pama'at, ancient Rasarian Kemetic solar civil lunar calendar. The Rasarian solar calendar is the oldest and most precise system of recording time known to man. It is derived from our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial Naga, Shemseru, Nesubiti, Siba Sibats, Imotu Wanzamat cherished concept of time and space. But before I begin, let me recite a short poem that was written by my brother, the high priest of Tesha Per Ra, Rasaris Ru Masura, and it goes as follows. Before the Romans and the Greeks, there was 9 days in every week, and time was kept by charting stars that were visible on our calendar. Aware of the movement of the earth, stars, and moon, these ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors were cosmically attuned. The knowledge of the stars is evident in the royal burial chamber of Nesubiti Sparta. And you, fortunate listeners here today, will soon come to the realization that this understanding was omitted in the development of calendars of other cultures. In this text, I have mentioned a few, and will now elaborate on those other calendars and reintroduce to you the Ipeteru Shabitem Tuaru Pama'at, the ancient Rasarian Kemetic solar civil lunar calendar, and its unique concept of star time. According to the New Book of Knowledge, a calendar is a system for keeping track of time. It is a kind of clock for the entire year. While a clock measures seconds, minutes, and hours of the day, a calendar measures the days, weeks, and months of the year. This is the accepted definition of a calendar. However, in ancient Tameri, Tanisha, Taneferu, Taneteru, Kemet, Naga Egypt, the calendar is a seasonal time chart that was regulated and observed by understanding the precession of the stars. From a section entitled, light up, bend the light up. From a section entitled, How the Modern Western Calendar Measures Time, the basic units of a calendar are day, week, month, and year. Our modern day calendar has 365 days, divided into 12 months, as well as 52 weeks with one extra day. Each week has 7 days. These These divisions of time are based upon the movement of the earth, moon, and sun. Where are the mention of stars? Our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors star-dated everything. In the temple of Heru that was discovered by Napoleon's General de Saxe during the French intervention of African Egypt in 1798 AD, inside on the ceiling in an upper room, they found the zodiac of Dendra, starting with the sign of the lion, Leo, during the spring equinox. This circular zodiac indicates a celestial alignment that occurred over 38,000 years ago, making it the oldest and most complete of any astronomical charts ever found on the earth. This zodiac of 12 astrological signs, written in an African dialect, demonstrates that it was a gift of superior black minds and supersedes accepted concepts that suggest that the Chaldeans or Babylonians were the originators of astrology and astronomy, and or that zodiac with its Latin names were the result of Roman efforts. Remember, zodiac in Latin means zoo. That famous gap always presents itself. Well, let me reassure you today, right now, on BABATV, Every Time Fire, with host Sankofa, that 38,000 years ago, there was no Europe or Rome, and there were no Hebrews or Greeks nor Babylonians. The zodiac can be observed within the squared center of the Ausarian solar calendar. The alignment also indicates a time when the star Sirius rose cosmically with Ra, our sun, under the sign of the great year Pisces. This helical rising of two kindred stars occurs every 1,461 years and was known as the symbolic year or year of years. Now, here was an ideal model of a 38,000-year-old calendar that was in perfect alignment with the stars, and it also was rejected. Why? Let us examine the information that is and was available. The ancient Egyptians conceived of a cycle that included day and night, and duat and tuat. And these periods were awarded a certain amount of time. In the modern calendar, this cycle is called a day, the amount of time it takes the sun to rise, set, and then rise again. Each day includes a period of sunlight and darkness that was determined by the rotation of the earth and the position of the sun. The ancient Egyptians, of course, they gave names to these days, and this practice is still continued. In early calendars, a month was the amount of time it took the moon to complete an orbit and undergo its cycles, recalling the very early calendars that were based upon the cycles of the moon, where each cycle of the moon takes 29 and a half days. Compiling a calendar of 12 months would result in a year that is only 354 days long. The Romans, they had 10 months in their early calendar, which ended in the month of Dise, 10, which had the shortest of years. If we add 13, we arrive at 383 and a half days. There is no correct solution if the moon is the principal inspiration. Today it is known it takes 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds for the Earth to complete the revolution of the sun, which designates a year. This created a problem of what to do with the extra 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds. How can the extra time be taken into account? The European answer was leap year. To make up the extra time, one day is added to the calendar every 4 years. Because of this, many uncertainties have occurred, causing other cultures to create or retain their own calendar. From the zodiac, such as the one found at Dendra, the ancient Egyptians formulated the 10-month solar calendar. This understanding is reflected within the Ausarian solar calendar, which introduces itself as a star chart that is derived from our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors' concept of time and space. It would please me very much at this time, BABATV, Every Time Fire, and Sankofa, that if everybody listening here today would consider this premeditation for a calendar. In the vernacular, outer space was the timeless void of darkness before the introduction of the light. Ra was the light, and as the light moved through the void, time was introduced. Our sun is a member of a trinity of suns that play major roles in the development of our quadrant of stars, planet, moons, and life forms. The word was given, and the three stars began to move apart from one another. Their names are Ra, Sirius, and Alcyone. As this separation occurred, the surface of each was lessened by great masses of viscous matter that seemed to escape into space, only to be captured by the gravitational pull of its inceptor. These three stars highlight much of what it is that we see today as we gaze upward and outward. Our view is restricted only by the natural alignment of our Earth and our northern hemisphere. From these bodies of light comes the makings of our zodiac, our solar system, and all the visible constellation. With this natural order as their grid, the 10-month solar calendar was fashioned. Our solar system has 10 heavenly bodies, 1 sun and 9 planets. Thus they factored together a calendar of 10 months, each consisting of 36 days, 4 weeks in a month, 9 days in a week, and 8,766 hours in a year. They conceived of a system of 60 seconds to a minute and 60 minutes to an hour. This was done by adding the 12 miles a second it takes the sun to travel around Alcyone. Multiplied 10 times gave them 120 miles of movement in 60 seconds, until realizing that at each cycle of 60, a new star alignment occurred. Thus the Sidral year was born. It came to be understood that a Sidral sighting of Sirius occurred annually at the same time. The sighting of Sirius provided the answers to the number of hours in one orbit of the Earth around the sun, which is 8,766 hours. Armed with this information, a calendar could be accurately devised, consisting of 10 months of 360 days, 4 weeks in a month, 9 days in a week. What made the solar calendar so unique was its concept of time allotment, such as allotting 12 hours to the day and 12 hours to the night, and 35 minutes that was split between the duat and the tuat, the latter being the periods between sunrise and sunset respectively. This resulted in the sighting of familiar stars at a predictable and seasonal occurrence. Each day of the year was heralded by a star that gave identity to your significance, and in this way they related time and space and the stars. Every second was accounted for and the natural order was observed. This produced the first of the ancient Egyptian calendars. It was known as a solar calendar, 360 24-hour days in a year, based on the sighting of stars. This is an understanding that went beyond the moon and allowed 100% accuracy. Now, some of the people in your listening audience, BABATV, Every Time Fire, and Sankofa, may want to ask the question, did our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors equate the moon to their calendar? Yes. Strangely enough, in their own way, they did. Jehuti, the teacher of Ausar, was known as the Netcher of the moon. It was under his instigation that the Jehutian calendar, consisting of 365 days and a quarter day, comes into being. Because of the strong effect that the moon displays in other calendars, they are without a doubt derived from this system. The story continues in classic ancient Egyptian pageantry that weaves fact with fiction and theories that involve the movement of the stars. It was after the earth was saved from the insects and the planet was ready for humankind that Ra had forbid the allotment of more time so that mankind could be born on the earth. Only within the existing order of time would life forms be allowed. All the other forms were created and surviving. Only mankind need be added to complete the 7 forms of life that are found on the earth. Seb, the earth Netcher, petitioned Lord Jehuti, the moon Netcher, to plead with Ra, the sun Netcher, for an allotment of time, so that his mate, Nut, the sky Netert, could give birth to the earth Neteruz. But Ra was unrelenting. It was known that the great company of gods and goddesses would often gather and engage in games of chance. Ra was in need of someone to give names to all the forms of life which he had allowed to evolve, and in this way his works would have meaning. You see, he was beginning to grow old from the billions and billions of years of existence. He found this task too tedious. A wager was arranged between Ra and Jehuti, with the winner indulging the other. Jehuti would name all the forms of life which Ra had allowed to evolve if he should lose. While should Ra lose, the 35 minutes that exist between the duat and the twat would be forfeited. in a wager that is known only to the great company of gods and goddesses, Lord Jehuti was the victor. He claimed his prize. The 35 minutes of time he gained control of, leaving an exact cycle of 24 hours, 10 months, 4 weeks, 9 days, totaling 360. The 35 minutes, when multiplied by 360, totaled 5¼ days, added on to a year that still had 8,766 hours. The question now is, how could our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial Naga, Shemsuru, Nesubiti, Semet, Sibasibat, Munatats, the immortal ones of Ma'at cherish, add 5¼ days and not have a leap year? This also clarifies the final uses of the moon in our calendar. If you recall that on the zodiac of Dendra, there are mention of the Apagamo days, or Renpet, the ancient Egyptian New Year's. These are the days that were gained by Lord Jehuti. The 5¼ days that were added on to the 360-day Earth orbit are the days that the Earth Neterus were born. In the Ipeteru, Shabitem Tuaru Pamaat, ancient Rasarian Naga solar civil lunar calendar, and the Nataruological star timeline, they are visible in the month of Ptah, with the moon going through its phases, signaling the sighting of the star Septet and the 5¼ days of observance, until the stars align again, starting anew the year. These 5¼ days are accounted for by observance, prayer, festival, fasting, and celebration. Every day of the orbit of the earth is accounted for in that singular revolution. There was no need of leap year. There was no need of leap year. This is the information that was lost, stolen, and denied with the intervention of Julius Caesar and the Romans. It is obvious that the Romans dissected the Jehusian calendar, which is in use today, adding Latin names and interpretations and the concept of leap year. Remember, the word calendar originates from the Latin word calendae. The Ipeteru Shabitem Tuaru Pamaat, ancient African Rasarian Kemetic solar civil lunar calendar, is all of these calendars in one, with 3 versions that encompass the message that was depicted on the ceiling of the ancient Egyptian temple of Heteru in Dendra. And in closing this short presentation with BABATV Every Time Fire, and with our host Sankofa, and with www.thenagaship.com, with our executive producer Sheshat Ma'at Heteru, I would like to say, in the words of our paternal father, Ausar Unefa Kenti Amenti, that within the whole of the universe, nothing is ever added and nothing is ever lost. This is a www.Nagaship production in union with BABATV Every Time Fire, with Sankofa here at the museum, and I am standing next to the Queen Mother Goddess, Deborah, Queen Mother Goddess of the temple. She's going to smudge everybody before we leave to make sure we've got the proper energy. I think a couple people snuck in here that wasn't energized, so she's here to make sure we all get the proper frequencies and vibrations so that we can maintain our spiritual, our cultural, cosmic, collective, spiritual, collective consciousness. This is what we're here for, to have immortality. So to sum this up and review real quick, because I know Sankofa got many other people to interview, so I'm going to use every second I got Sankofa here to take my remech cosmic. The original calendar, man, is 360 days in a year, which means there are 24 hours and 35 minutes in every day. There's 10 months in a year, 4 weeks in a month, 9 days in a week, 8,766 hours in a year, a civil year. But this is a perfect calendar. There's only one problem. We don't exist. There's only 6 forms of life: plant, insects, reptiles, water creatures, birds that fly, and animal. Man and woman is not here because time has not been allotted for them. Enter calendar number 2, the 365-day and a quarter-day calendar. Jehuti waged with Ra for a lot of the time because Sebenut wanted to have children to populate the planet. So, in the primordial temple discipline methodology, you would know that the only thing that separates the goddess Nut from the Netaseb, the earth, the sky from the earth, is light. When the sun rises, you see the sky. when the sun sets, when it's Atum Ra and the sun sets in the Menti, where did the sky go? You see stars. And then in the morning you see light. And then you see stars. Where is the sky going? The sky falls down on the earth. It comes up and down. And this perpetual motion is they're making love. So Ra, Jehuti, wanted the children to be born from Newt and Seb. For those of you who need proof of this, when you see a papyrus painting and you see the goddess Newt and the Seb on the earth, and you see somebody in the middle holding them up, that's separating them, such as Shu or Kemu, then you know that this calendar, you're supposed to know as a Naga, using your spirituality, your cosmic collective, your cultural cosmic collective consciousness spirituality through metaphysics and through esoterical understanding, it is able to reveal that which was incomprehensible now is revealed, because now you know when you look at that papyrus paper, that papyrus depiction, you know that with Shu in the middle, that this calendar is 360 days, because there's no children. Now enter calendar number 2. There's nobody in between holding it up, separating Newt from Seb. That means that the earth netters were born. This is called, in Greek or in academia, it's called the Epagamor days, which we call the Renpet, or the Mesu, Neferu, Nebu, Ta Neteru, which means the day that the earth gods were born. So, on this calendar, this is how we first come to relate to our spirituality. So on the Gregorian calendar, on July 25th, 2018, or whatever year on the Gregorian calendar, on July 25th, on the Giza Plateau, the stars Septet and Sirius rises together. That is called the heliacal rising. It is on this day that the earth netters were born. The firstborn is Heruer, the secondborn is Ausar, the thirdborn is Set, the fourthborn is Ast, and the fifthborn is Nebhet. So we, on these days, so there's only 360 days in a year. On these days, we celebrate, we have festivals, we celebrate, we fast, and we observe the stars. So on the first day, on the 20th of July, on the Gregorian calendar, we celebrate the birthday of Heruer. On the next day, we celebrate the birthday of Ausar. On the next day, we celebrate the birthday of Sut. On that day, you know, I burn a candle for Uncle Set. I'm not eating with him, I ain't hanging with him, but he's my uncle. I gotta recognize him. I'm a Shemsu Heru, but he's in the order, so we have to recognize him. They have the mathematical equation to maintain a balance in the mathematical equation. The next day is the birthday of Ast, Mut, Patnataru, Patnabu, and the next day is the birthday of Nebhet. And when Nebhet's birthday comes, the sun rises, and when the sun sets, the next day, the star and the sun rises together. Cyrus and Ra, Uben Septet. Everybody rise, Uben Septet. This is when our sun and Cyrus does a binary dance. And every 1,461 years, they conjunct. And then they have the aphelion and perihelion, just like the earth. The sun has the aphelion and perihelion, the furthest and closest to the earth. The moon has the apogee and perigee, the closest and furthest away from the moon to the earth, the farthest away. So does Cyrus and Ra do a binary dance. And this dance can only be applied to a solar silver lunar calendar. So if you have a Kemetic calendar that only has 10 days in a week, it won't work, because it's a calendar that can only feed you. It's an agricultural calendar. Our ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors had a solar silver lunar calendar and a naturological star timeline. So on these days that the earth gods were born, we know that that we are Shemsu Herus. We are the Shemsu Herus. We were born from Heru and Heteru. We came from the Shemsu Herus, who are Hapi, Twamutep, Quetzalcoatl, and Mesta, who was born from Heru and Heteru, who was born from Asa and Ast, who was born from Shu and from Seb and Newt, who was born from Shu and Tefnut, who was born from the direct issue of Ra Nebuchadnezzar Ra. And this is how we begin to connect ourselves back to our cultural, cosmic, collective consciousness, spirituality, by understanding this sacred story that's written in the Medu Neter text over 5 million years ago. Our not to do a logical star timeline, we can trace our beginnings back 5 million years to the earliest hominins on the planet. So, in understanding our cultural, cosmic, collective consciousness, spirituality, and knowing that we came from the direct issue of Ra Nebuchadnezzar Ra, this is how the story goes. I am he, she, who existed in the primeval ocean of nothingness, eons and eons of evolutions ago, before the beginnings of time. When I thought that the moment had come, I fashioned my mouth and I uttered my name as a word of power. With this power that was my birthright, I fashioned myself in forms from out of the primeval ocean of nothingness. There were none others with me then. I am the beginnings of time which began when I took form and commanded the power. Now it came to pass that I found no place upon which I could stand. So I straightway brought from my own mind and thoughts the primeval mound from out of the primeval ocean of nothingness. Being that I was alone at this time, it pleased me to make others. So I went from being Nature 1 to Nature 3. I made these beings in the manner in which all things are made. I, Ra Nebuchadnezzar Ra, the he, the she, the mother and father of all existence. I embraced my shadow and I grasped my member and I loved myself. I issued forth the Nature Shu and I multiplied its forms millions and millions of times. I gathered a portion of the remains and I swallowed them and I spat forth Tefnut. They are my heart and soul, twins, born of the same birth. And where you find the one, you'll find the three, for the three is of the one and the one is of the three. Shu and Tefnut had union, and they gave birth to Sebenut. And in similar manner, I multiplied their forms millions and millions of times. Sebenut had union, and they gave birth to the earth Neterus, Heruer, Ausar, Sut, As, Nebhet. And when all this was done, and all things of manifestation had come into being, it is I, Ra Nebuchadnezzar Ra, who issue forth the order of existence. Hanata Pupamaat, Uncle Astajet, Uncle Johnsoneb, Ubenefike Pandabuheru, Ma'ati. May you rise always in divine excellence with Ma'at, all day, every day. So in review, to capitulate this, we just went through the spiritual, the cultural, cosmic, collective consciousness, spirituality, and related time to our spirituality, which is lacking in the conscious community. The Christians know who their God is. The Hebrew Israelites know who their God is. Everybody knows who their God is but us. If I ask a Kemetic person today who you believe in, they don't even know. The closest they could come to is Amen Ra. And if they say that, it shows they don't know what they're talking about, because Amen Ra means time. Amen is the great age of Amen, represents the great age of Aries, because in the temple of Luxor and Karnak, they have an avenue of sphinxes that's orientated to the spring equinox, to the constellation of Aries in Greek, which is Amen, because when the sun came into that constellation 4,000 years ago in the great golden age of Amen, the sun, Amen, became Amen Ra. It's very simple. You cannot explain this unless you know how to tell time. If you don't know how to tell time, you can never explain this. So, we want to go further this. We want to take a wrap. We want to call this a wrap for right now. We want to go into the origins of existence and creation, development of the universe. I don't know if BABATV every time Fire got time. I know he's interviewing thousands of people here in Boston, but we are a pleasure to have our esteemed brother BABATV every time Fire here with us today with Sankofa, our host. And to all, I will say to you, in the words of our paternal father, Ausar Unefa, Kenti Amenti, that within the whole of the universe, nothing is ever added and nothing is ever lost. And I want to give great praises to our Queen Mother, our great Mutnatat,
Thank you, dear.
Deborah, the temple priestess, Deborah Nebhet. She is the mother of all initiation. So when enter into the halls of double right and double truth, you must pass through her purification so that she can give you the proper frequencies and vibration so that you may have your first day, so that you may acquire the ability to experience the phenomenon of being. Remember, first you must release yourself. Then you must seek out yourself. Overcome the sensation of weightlessness. Embrace ma'at within yourself. Then you will desire to acquire the ability to experience the phenomenon of being. Atun Ra Hotep, this has been a BABATV, Every Time Fire production, along with the Naga Ship Star Time with Queen Hesheshat Heteru Ma'at. And to all I say, Uncle Jah Seneb, Uncle Wasta Jet, Uben Nefi Care, Panebu Heru Ma'ati. Hotep family, Panata Pupamaat, Uncle Wasta Jet, Uncle Jah Seneb, Uben Nefi Care, Panebu Heru Ma'ati. Rising always in divine excellence with Ma'at all day, every day. Welcome back to the Royal Burial Chamber, Nesubiti Espalta. We're here with BABATV, Every Time Fire, hosted by Sankofa. And I'm here to introduce to you my great Seba, who was here with me 30 years ago when I erected this mortuary temple. He is the master of metallurgy. He casted this doorway of Nesubiti Espalta. And we wanted to introduce you to him today. His name is Ta'u, and maybe he'll bless us with a few words and explain to us what work he does and how he performed this great masterful work here. Ta'u, Seba.
Ptah, thank you. Well, no need to reintroduce myself since I have already been introduced. Ptah and I joined together when we had decided to construct this tomb. However, I knew Ptah from 1978 from the House of Ra. But when we conceived to do this job, a gate was needed because of the artifacts that are in the glass case that belongs to the Museum of Fine Arts for the insurance purposes. So Ptah and I combined our ideas or thoughts to formulate a gate for the front of the tomb as the entrance. And we made a presentation to the Egyptologist and the director of the museum. Now, they had not used our design, what we had thought of at first, but they reinvented what they thought should be at the entrance, which was the name of the king, King Espalta. And Ptah already has described the name in hieroglyphs and the original birth name on the door. So this is how the door has come to be. And now it sits almost as part of the permanent collection in the ancient works of the Nubians from 3,000 years ago. Since the Nubians, or the Kushites, were the workers of metal, of iron, which is part of our DNA in some sense, since we were the first alchemists to exist. So the place Kemet is because they were alchemists, the name is called Kemet. From extracting the metal out of the ore and adding the carbons into it necessary to give it the sort of pliable application needed. It had to be a part, or it has been a part of the high science of creation, or of understanding what exists in creation. So in saying that, I say, Ptah, thank you for all that you have done and for your continued reverence in the works.
Beautiful. Dua.
Yeah.
And I would like to also say that I would like to present This Ipetru Shabitem Twa Rupamaat, this ancient African Naga Shamsuru Rasarian solar calendar. 1, 2, this is a symbolic gesture because I sold out. I was waiting for the UPS truck to come. It's running late, but I'm going to mail it to you. And when the Baba, this is your personal, this will be your personal autographed copy of the Ipetru Shabitem Twa Rupamaat calendar, one for you and one for Siba. BABATV, Every Time Fire. We appreciate you for coming to Boston, Massachusetts, to the Royal Burial Chamber of Nesubiti Espalta at the Museum of the National Center of Afro-American Artists, 300 Walnut Ave, Roxbury, Boston, Mass. 02119 zip code. So go online, check out the Museum of the National Center of Afro-American Artists, and also go to Shock Metaphysics Virtual Comedic Wisdom School to see my webinars, and also you can contact me at the Naga Ship, THENAGASHIP.com, and you can buy one of the Solar Silver Lunar calendars and my book, The Cosmic Egg, aka The Primeval Germ, A Journey of 59 plus 21 zeros. Desire to acquire the ability to experience the phenomenon of being. Hotep family, Atum Ra, Hotep.